Okay, hi guys, welcome back to the Audio Levels channel. Welcome back to another review, and today we are taking a look at these. This is the Fiio FD7. It's a single dynamic driver earphone, and it is priced pretty expensively in that mid-price audiophile range right now, about between $600 and $700 depending on where you buy it. Links, as always, is going to be down below in the description. If you're new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. We have one of the most active channels in terms of portable audio reviews. But also, if you're subscribed to the channel, you're automatically entered into any giveaways, whether that's vouchers. Last month we gave away a $100 Amazon voucher. Next month I think I'm going to give away a set of earphones. Not sure which ones yet, but I'm going to try and make it as good as possible. The other advantage for our subscribers is going to be that you can ask anything in the questions down below, comments down below. You can ask, how does this compare to this, X, Y, and Z? And I'll either answer your question in the comments. If you go back and look at my previous videos, you'll see that I answer a lot of questions, pretty much every question somebody asks, asking for a comparison. If I've heard it, I will compare it, and I will actually put them in my ears, listen to them, compare them, and then give you a response. The Fiio FD7 that we're looking at today, as I say, is a single dynamic driver earphone. It uses a 12mm beryllium diaphragm, and let's take a look at the packaging first. The packaging is pretty nice. You get this outer sleeve, big display of the earphones themselves. You have some Chinese and English writing on it, just saying that it has a replaceable tube design, which basically means that it has these interchangeable filter switches or filter nozzles that you can change to change the sound. It has a beryllium driver, and it is a stainless steel metal body, which is actually very, very nice. Nothing too fancy on the back there, no frequency response charts or anything. Now, once you remove the sleeve, you have this very nice presentation box. It says something for music, born for music. You can barely read it in that handwriting. And on the inside, you'll open it up and you'll be faced with this sort of presentation with a big carry case that I've managed to lose already, sitting on the left-hand side. It's quite a nice carry case. The earphones will be presented in here as it usually is, and then you get into the side here where you have the little disc. And basically the way this works is you unscrew one of these. You can see it's labelled clearly here. You have S bass, M balanced, L treble. So you basically just remove one of these filters and you screw it into the earphone, which I'll show you in a second once we actually get into the earphones construction section of this review. I'll put that to the side just now. On the inside, you get tons and tons and tons of ear tips, and they're really good quality as well. The difference between some of these silicone ones is that they're just a little bit rougher. Some have a wider bore, like the ones at the bottom. So the bass are a little bit more compacted using these ones. Then I switched to these ones, which have a wider nozzle on them. And it really reduced the bass a little bit and opened up the treble. Of course, you have the Comply foam tips, which absorb a little bit of the highs, which is always good. And then you have these ones, which were super, super small. I don't know if you can see these bore things. I had a real trouble getting these on. And yes, they really, really affect the density, not the sub bass so much, but the mid bass. It makes it very, very punchy. The other thing that we need to talk about here is a lot of companies right now are doing the Dunu style. Dunu basically invented this new adapter system that everybody is now trying to catch on with, and Fiio are not wanting to be left behind. Usually Fiio were innovators in a lot of areas, but this is the system that Fiio have gone for. Everybody has their own system just now. I'll see if I can grab a Fiio cable, and you're going to kill me for if you see this. That is what happens on my desk. This is the Dunu system. So basically you pull, change it, spin it into place and lock it back in. You can change between a 3.5mm standard, 4.4mm balanced, or 2.5mm balanced, and that's what we see here, those three different jack technologies. So let's say I want to listen to a 2.5mm balance, which is the smallest one that you see here. I'm just going to take it, spin it until it locks into place, and then the way that the Fiio implementation is where Duno have this pull system that releases it, Fiio actually spin this nozzle down onto it, and it actually pulls it and locks it into place. And guys, I actually find this a lot more fiddly because I'm having trouble getting it to catch all the time. It is definitely a good thing that they've gone for this, but I don't think it's the best implementation. There you go, I've got it screwed down now. But it is definitely the fiddliest out of the three methods that I've seen. The Monarch Mark II, if you go and watch that review, Linsol have just released a Theaudio cable that has a very, very good system of that. The Duno system's pretty robust, and it's something I've been using on the Hulk Pro. The Fiio is definitely the worst of the three systems I've checked out, but I also know that Kinera have got a system similar to that coming out as well. The cable itself is not too bad actually. It's lighter weight than a lot of the competitors are going for, but it's very, very well behaved. I never had a problem with this tangling or retaining memory, etc., etc. If I go ahead and just place it down there. It's not the best performing cable, but it is definitely not bad at all. I don't think that it fits in with the sort of ultra premium thing, but at the same time it's better or about the same as sort of a Mangrove Zen's up cable, and then you're getting the interchangeable system on the bottom, which I really, really like. Especially if you're not aware, the main reason for somebody like me is that I am very rough on my cable connectors. As you can probably see, I destroyed a set of Tin Hi-Fis the other day. I just ripped the cable straight off it because Tin Hi-Fi insist on making their MMCX connectors to terrible tolerances, and they're way, way, way too tight, and I just pulled the cable straight off it deliberately because I raged on it, but you know. So the problem is with the traditional method was that you would buy a different cable for different sources, and that's putting a lot of wear. Every time you take the connector off, plug it back in, you're wearing the earphone side of things. So what if you could take the wear to this side of the cable, and you know the earphones never become damaged. Eventually the cable breaks, your earphones are just fine. So the advantage of that for me, or the reason that is so good for me, is let's say do I have the iFi Gold Blue somewhere? Okay, so recently I've been using the iFi Gold Blue, and it's got 4.4mm balance. So I'll have this connected to the earphones, I'm listening to it in balanced, I'll unplug it, and then I pick up my Tulin X8, and I don't have anywhere to put that balance cable, so I just spin it off and put the 2.5 on it and shove it straight into the 2.5mm balanced. And that's just a lot less wear. So for those that don't know, that's the main benefit of one of these cable systems. Now let's pop off these earphones as well. Comes off much easier than the previously talked about Tin Hi-Fi earphones. We'll put the cable off to the side. So let's take a look at the earphones, guys, and these are beautiful. It's a stainless steel body construction, and it's just really, really nice. It almost feels like ceramic. It feels very, very similar to, and I do have it here, the Duno Zen. In fact, they are very, very similar earphones. The Duno Zen does feel a little bit more premium. I don't know the material of that. It might be a ceramic. It is very, very, very nice. But this is a big step up for Fiio, and this is actually a smaller body in many ways, just because you don't have the protrusion of Duno's got quite a elongated MMCX connector there. The body is just really, really nicely made. I've got no problems with this at all. I think it looks really, really good, but you can probably see it is a fingerprint magnet, that's for sure. So you have MMCX connectors clearly labelled red and blue, and you have the system that I was talking about with these metal nozzles come off, and you can look down and maybe see the dynamic driver in there. So if I was wanting to switch these nozzles, take the green tip, hold it up to the earphone, and I switch it out. And then you've basically changed the profile. It's like a hardware EQ system that you have with it. Now, in terms of sound quality, I think straight out the box, it's a really, really good sounding earphone. It has good soundstage. It has a very natural and balanced sound to it. It has good mid-bass response, but it is somewhat lacking in sub-bass response, even when you're switching out these filters. And these filters, I didn't really... When you go between the two extremes, the extremely small one, you can see one that is extremely small bore, and the widest one, yes, you can definitely hear a big difference there. But I feel like it is at all times lacking a sub-bass, and it was never something that I could really bring in, even through EQ, bumping up the decibel level on the sub-bass region. It has excellent mid-bass range, and it has excellent timbre and decay on the notes. It sounds very airy, very open. It is one of these earphones that can definitely compete with the Dunu Zen in terms of that open, airy soundstage. I don't think it is quite as realistic in the mid-range. The mid-range, I found it to be, let's say, not overly impressive, just because I think it could have done with a little bit more warmth into it. I think that after the burn-in period, and I don't believe in burn-in, but just off of my head, after the burn-in period, I was expecting a little bit more of a change. You know, what I heard from memory, and this is all from memory because this is the way it works with burn-in, is that I expected to be a more dramatic change. I was like, okay, maybe the sub bass is going to come in. They're telling me to burn it in, so the sub bass is going to come in. There's going to be a little bit more warmth or something, or weight to vocals in specific situations. It's just a very natural, neutral, unoffensive sounding earphone, and it displays a lot of good characteristics like openness, airiness, transparent sound. It's very uncolored, unaltered, and very true to the source of the music. So if you're into that sort of presentation, I think it's a very, very good earphone for you. The problem is, for me personally, I prefer a little bit more emphasis on sub bass. Not at all times, but I like these earphones that remain composed in the sub bass, and you don't even know it's there until you throw in a track that needs sub bass, like Quick Musical Doodles by 2 Feet. I think you need something that can really, really hit hard if you listen to a varied sort of genre. However, if you're sticking mainly to rock, classical, that sort of stuff, this is going to be a very, very capable earphone, especially for classical, because even without that sub-bass response, which never really comes up in classical music too much, the openness and airiness is something that really, really lends itself to making it an enjoyable listening experience. I really, really enjoyed it. I also enjoyed the mid-bass on it. The mid-bass has lots of detail, and you can tell that the beryllium driver is remaining extremely, extremely tight, even though, as I say, it's maybe missing some of the lowest of the low. Now, in terms of comparison, treble is absolutely fine. It's a little bit elevated, and I think, again, it lends itself to creating that sort of soundstage presentation of where treble creates soundstage. I think it's quite good. It's not offensive in any way for me. I've got far more treble happy earphones, so I found it very, very good. The big thing that I did notice on it when it comes to sound is that these things are massively source dependent. So when I threw this with the Ditonary, I have to stop saying this in my reviews because people get annoyed by it. When the Fiio FD7 is paired with something like the Ditonary Honey H1, it sounds excellent because this has a sort of lush warmth to it, which complements the more neutral bass of the earphones. However, if I'm listening to the Tulin with a colder setup in the amp, or for example my Brunson amplifier or my DX7 Pro desktop amplifiers, then I find it to be at times a little bit on the cold side for my preference of listening. I want something a little bit more musical, I think is what I'm trying to say. Now, in terms of direct comparison, I think that the Dunu Zen are better, very similar sort of bass response, but I think these are much more smooth sounding, much more enjoyable. Similar sort of presentation with the openness and the airiness, and definitely the treble on this is much more interesting. The Dunu Zen are very well suited to Asian style music. Another one in this price point, so we should probably talk about the price point. These are between $600 and $700 depending on where you buy them. The Duno-Zen are about $700. The other one I want to talk about, and it's one of my favorite earphones of the year, is this, the Kinera. Oh, I've got grabbed one of each. The Kinera Sculled, beautiful, beautiful earphones. These are an all balanced armature earphone, and they have a wonderful presentation with lots and lots of detail and clarity. I think that these are a good alternative if you're not, if you're determined to go for a balanced armature, but maybe you want, if you're determined to go for a dynamic driver, then the Fiio FD7 are good by all means, but I think these are superior and these cost a lot less. And I just feel that these are fantastic earphones, so well worth considering. Not much point in me comparing them head to head because this is all balanced armature and dynamic driver. The other one that obviously you're going to be looking at that again is cheaper is the Audio Excalibur. Now I have a preference for the Excalibur over the Oracle, which we have here. The Oracle are very, very, very good. It's just that I prefer the bass presence on the Excalibur, and if you're looking to get into tribrids and very, very good tribrids, then I think they are worthy of a consideration against the Fiio FD7. And then the last one that I want to talk about is completely moving in the opposite direction of the Fiio FD7. And this is one of these earphones that, again, the community has overlooked because the community will do whatever the community will do. This is the Symphonio RX10. This is a massive earphone, so you're going to struggle to get a fit, but if you can get a fit with these, I believe they're between $500 and $600. I'll leave the link to the pricing in the description below. It's not got the fancy adaptive filter system. It's not got the fancy cable, but these are one of the most impressive sounding earphones at the price if you don't want to go into the hybrids and tribrids. This has a 10mm dynamic driver with I think a biocellulose. Let's actually bring it up and see what it is. No, it's a composite membrane material driver. I thought that was just going to be waffle, but it's PVD coated pearl shine surface. It is got enormous bass presence. It has a much thicker, lusher sound. It is an incredible earphone for just sitting back and listening to your music. This is extremely underrated and worth well more in sound than it is in its price. It has its limitations with the build quality. Well, the build quality is excellent. It's just the size of the things. If I can bring the Fiio up for direct comparison, that's a big difference. That is a big, big, big difference. In fact, the center disc of the Symphonio is the same size as the Fiio. But this, if you can get a fit, that's a special sounding earphone and a great alternative to tribrids and hybrids. So that's it for this review, guys. This is an earphone, the Fiio FD7, that I think it fits in well with the other high-end dynamic driver earphones. I think it's going to be slaughtered by something a little bit more expensive like the Campfire Audio Dorado 2020, which just has beautiful presentation on it. But coming up against the Duno-Zens, I could see a case being made for either one of them. It's a nice alternative if you don't want to go for the tribrids, and I did get a lot of tribrid fatigue recently until I listened to the Monarch Mark II and they became my earphones of the year. Up until that point, I was actually going to select the Kinera Sculled as my earphones of the year, and these were pretty close based on sound, but again, I can't really recommend these to a lot of people unless they're going to fit into your ears. If they do, these are great. The RX10, there I am saying this and these again. So I apologise to anybody that I've offended with this. So before I go, guys, one last question I want to ask you all. I've had, for the past few videos, I've had a black background. What do you think of the white background? I think it kind of stands out a little bit more and just makes everything look a little bit cleaner. I am in the new year going to be spending a lot of money upgrading the camera equipment and hopefully upgrading these reviews, but it's still going to be very personal, sort of one-to-one on with this. But what do you think of the background differences, or is MD get any tips that I can make it better? And yes, I'm going to get an external microphone that I'm going to record on as well, just to try and make things a little bit easier for you guys to watch. So that's it for this review. Thanks again, guys. We've got coming up right now on the next review tomorrow, it's going to be the TRN TA2, so watch out for that.